ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 80 of Apron Podcast with Chill Boys, Carlos and Respes. Carlos, how you doing?
Well, good. I'm good. I'm doing really good. I got the fresh haircut. I got more grays the second I hit 35. And I just recorded a Nerd Today podcast video, which you can find at youtube.com/nerdtoday.
Yeah. It must be nice.
For my Mick Foley chip pop.
It must be nice to have Nerd Today in your YouTube and not a bunch of random letters and numbers. So
soon, brother, soon.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea where I'm going with this. So this is a good way to start. I'm tired. So we're going to start here. I'm not even going to get into what the episode's about. We are going to brag a little bit, right? You said that we are going to brag. And
a victory lap, yeah.
I want to start this off by bragging in that we were almost 4 for 4 with the ROH Hall of Fame.
They made it seem like only 3 people were going in, and we predicted those three correctly.
See, I thought we predicted 4, but I could be wrong. I thought we did. I thought they said 4 from the beginning. I'm just trying to remember who the 4th one was, because we...
yeah, I can't remember who
I couldn't even tell you who got in it right now. I know it was Punk and Danielson. Is it Joe? Joe?
Wait, is it Joe? Yes, it's Joe.
I know, it's Joe. It's weird because I was thinking the same
Briscoes.
thing. I was like, "Who's the 4th?" Like I know it was the Briscoes.
I second guessed myself for a second. I was like, "Wait."
Yeah, I don't.
No.
I felt like we said 4, and I don't remember who we guessed as our 4th. But the Briscoes, I know, called us out. We are like, "Oh shit, that makes sense."
Listen, we called the old school, and we got that right. I didn't expect it to be new school people. Like I didn't expect it to be like.
I mean, the Briscoes been there for 8 billion years, right? So.
Yeah, but they were like still active, and technically they're still the ROH tag team champions. You know what I mean? Like that's the. I'm not faulting ROH for picking a current member of the roster,
right?
But it's just like I didn't expect a current member of the roster to be the one. Oh, we did say 4 because I thought it was going to be Delirious.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm trying to remember
somebody else.
Who I said. Did I say Chris Hero?
Yes.
I felt like
believe you did.
I remember mentioning him. Whether I picked him
in
as
the comments
the 4th.
below, be like, "No, you didn't."
Yeah.
Sorry. It was like 4 episodes ago.
You didn't even pick the 3 right. What are you talking about?
Yeah. You kept saying John Cena. John Cena doesn't wrestle. He never wrestled for ROH.
I said Raven. But
I met him. I actually met him. He was a really nice gentleman.
This is just going smoothly. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's just normal Apron Work podcast.
Yeah. So so they got announced. Those were the 4 ROH Hall of Fame. Which
we did it. We got it right.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Briscoes. All right. I'm sure they went to get a tag team in there. It made sense, I guess, as far as the tag teams go for ROH. Because I think
it's
even
hard
like
with Hall of Fames, right? You don't know like what they're. I don't necessarily need them to have rules, but it'd be nice if we like knew ahead of time. Like we're picking one for, like our Hall of Fame episode, we picked one tag team. Like you know what I mean? We did the 1-1-1. Like
and I mean, like the Young Bucks weren't there long enough, right? I'm trying to think of like.
No, I would put them like in a later class.
But that's like I'm
5 years down the line, I'd probably put them in the class.
I'm trying to think if they wouldn't have tag teams in there, like.
Christopher Danielson would be a good one to put in there.
Is that Brian's brother?
Yeah, Brian.
You said Christopher Danielson.
Yes. I did. Damn it!
You're just on. You called him Daniel Bryan earlier, and
I know. Called him by a slave name.
But this is not an ROH
just
episode.
Like we're gonna start talking about Stardust soon.
Yeah, this is not an ROH episode. This episode is all about Logan Paul. Now we are going to. With the announcement that, for some odd reason, everybody thought was Cody Rhodes.
He's dashing.
Yeah, I know, but he didn't say that originally. Everybody tried to make it out like that's who he was talking about because everybody, in a weird way,
they're friends too. That helps. That they actually really they're best friends.
But like in like the weirdest way. That's the thing about this whole Cody Rhodes thing, and we talked about that, and I will go on this rant before we move on to celebrities in there.
We're on Cody Watch episode 2, guys.
Yeah, everybody,
because he still has a debut.
I'm still under the impression that it's a work, and I think the longer this goes where WWE does not show him, the more likely it is a work. But for people like me, we're trying to point everything out that, look, this is a work. Look, this is a work. For the people that want to see it happen, they're all going to find every hint they can. Like, I watched I watched the Elimination Chamber just to see what was going to happen. I cared about the last match, really, and that was about the only thing I watched. And then when Lashley gets hurt because they throw him into the thing, and Brock Lesnar kicks through the pod where he wasn't really supposed to. He was supposed to wait until the next.
Dude, that was impressive.
And the funny thing is, you're like, wow, they didn't really have it break away. That's crazy. Until you find out later on that he was supposed to wait. and he forcibly kicked
Brock
through
Lesnar
that
is a cat.
Because he walks out of it. When he kicks out the top of it. And he tries to kick out the bottom, and it's not coming out, so he just walks through it. If you notice, he kicks three times, and that bottom does not come, so he just walks through it. And I was like, damn, they botched the shit out of that spot until you find out he wasn't supposed to kick through the pod. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. He was probably trying to kick the full pane out, and he broke it in half by accident, and then couldn't get the bottom.
At that point, he's just angry with himself. No, but honestly, Brock Lesnar is just a house cat. He's just gonna mess with your shit.
But everybody assumed. I mean, I had people saying, "Oh my God, Cody's coming! Oh my God, Cody's coming! This is the spot for Cody."
I thought that would be. It's such a big pay per view, in the grand scheme of things. It's obviously a cash grab, but it's a big pay per view in the grand scheme of things. So that was that. If I were to pull a trigger, I probably would have pulled it there, but at the same time,
that's my point. Is there was no hint of it happening?
No,
there was just a spot
was
open.
Too soon,
but there was just a spot open, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's happening! Oh my God, it's got to be Cody!" Like I said, if you want to see it happen, or there's a lot of for lack of a better term, self-deprecating wrestling fans that don't want to see it happen, but assume it's going to happen, so they like to have something to bitch about. So I think they wanted to see Cody show up there and lose to Brock so they can complain and say, see, this is why you shouldn't have left AEW. I feel like people are pulling at straws. So Miz talked about having a partner, and instead of going to the actual real partner that you would think, which would be Morrison, a lot of people were like, this is Cody. This is how they bring him in. And then before it even happens, I had people literally, I'm reading Twitter where people were saying, this is why WWE sucks. They brought Cody in here. They said they're going to put him in a big match, and they put him in a tag team match with the Mysterios. Can you believe it? This is stupid. He should just stay in AEW. And I'm thinking, they have not announced Cody. And you're already killing this.
No vignettes. No, just some people being like, hey, he's my partner's dashing, or then what's Edge's thing later on in the night? He's undeniable.
But he did
that's a Cody thing.
He
but
said
that's it.
Dashing that night, but the night at Elimination Chamber, day, whatever our time.
Yeah,
he does not say dashing. He says he's a part of a famous family. He's a celebrity, stuff like that. He talks about where. If you wanted to twist his words, you would think he's talking about Cody, but he never actually makes it sound like Cody.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a celebrity. Could name 8 billion people. That's not. It's not Cody specific. He did
technically 2 seasons of a reality show, but we're only ever going to see one. The other season's been scrapped.
Oh no, we'll see the other one. We'll see the other one when he shows back up. Don't worry.
He was like, "Hey, we found this footage from 3 years ago."
Because
dude, him and Brandy broke up.
He was just promoting the Go Big show.
Yeah, he was. That was a good tweet. That was a good tweet and Instagram thing. I was like, that's good. You're having fun with this.
Yeah, I'm convinced that it's a work, but I won't get too into that. We're already 10 minutes in the episode, and we haven't even gotten into the meat and potatoes here. So who his partner ends up being is Logan Paul. And a lot of people will hate that.
Piece of shit.
And I will say this: we spent so much time shitting on WWE, so much time shitting on WWE. This is going to be a pro WWE episode for once. I talked to you. I talked to you about how I was a fan that Brock Lesnar won the Rumble. I was a fan that Ronda Rousey won the Rumble. I wanted to see stuff like that happen because I don't watch WWE on the regular anymore. And as a casual fan, if I'm going to watch WrestleMania, I want to see the best of the best. I don't want to see guys that I barely know. I don't know who the fuck Madcap Moss is. I don't know who.
I don't think he knows who he is after Saturday. Jesus Christ!
Isn't there a guy named Ridge Holland? I think, or something like that. Is that
he was
name?
in NXT. He was part of Pat's pack.
I mean, who the hell knows what Corbin's first or middle name is anymore?
That dude's getting paid though, man.
I mean, Ricochet, I forget's on the roster until he gets squashed by Omos.
He does have awesome gear if you love Tekken, but that's about it.
New Day, who the hell knows if they're New Day or if Big E's allowed to be New Day or if Big A has to be a New Day but can't be a New Day because they don't want to call him New Day, but they gotta call him Big E and Kofi even though he's still New Day. None of it fucking makes sense. So, as somebody who barely watches it, and only sees that shit on Twitter and stuff, from a casual, I've watched Logan and Jake Paul's pay-per-view stuff because why the fuck wouldn't I? I'm not fans of theirs. I watch a stupid fucking YouTube show, not theirs, their little cousin, and it's not because of me, it's because the kids watch Titus. I don't know if you ever seen that. It's like their little cousin, I think. It's a little blonde boy.
Ever since they've, I will say, quote unquote, invaded my island, I'm good. No, even before I know like of them. They're undeniable.
I did not know who they were. I seen them in his episodes because again, the kids watch little kids on YouTube, and they say, "Ooh, why can't we do this?" And I'm like, "Cause they have money and."
They're beyond rich. Like
they're sitting at home making YouTube channels because they can, and I'm working. Yeah. That's why we can't go jump out of an airplane into a pool in our backyard.
And it's like visiting a suicide forest, which is really like not cool.
And that kid's got an annoying voice. Their little cousin Titus.
All three of them, I'm assuming he did.
I hope none of you want to be on our show, but I have that. I always do the first shout out is he has like this very high pitched voice. And I'm like, oh my god, stop watching this kid.
Honest. You're not welcome. Also, you're not welcome on my island. Get the fuck off. Pay your taxes in America, you piece of shit.
But say I'm
There's gonna be that one white person who's like, God damn, here we go talking about race again. Like, I'm talking about my island, sir.
But
I'm talking about skidding. Just get the fuck off the beach.
They make money. They figured out how to make money. I mean, the boxing world, which all these people that want to talk about, they're ruining boxing. Boxing's been ruined for years.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
dude, it's been ruined.
Thanks, Don King.
People don't watch it except for hardcore fans. People don't know 90% of the people. No. I know the one boxer purely because of wrestling. What the hell is his name? Yeah, Tyson Fury. I never even heard of him before that. I literally watched the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury. I want to say it was the first time they fought. It might have been the second time. I purely watched it because I was like, oh, I know who Tyson Fury is from wrestling.
I want to, if you don't mind if I cut you off real quick, I want to just go off a little tangent. I haven't had anything to talk about, right? And it's rough. So my family loves boxing. Mm-hmm. My dad loved it growing up. My sister loves it. Her favorite boxer is Oscar De La Hoya. My brother-in-law loves it. My brothers love it. I grew up with it. I didn't grow up with them, but I grew up with my mom's partner. She loves boxing. I was like, but you got to think of like, there's a 14-year gap. No, there's a 7-year gap between my one brother and me. And he's the youngest of them three, right? And my mom's partner was like freaking 60 when I was like 12. So she's way older. They had great boxing. You know what I mean? We grew up in a time where Don King destroyed boxing, right? And like they were trying to rebuild. And I think the issue that the boxing world has can be fixed if they adapt something that similar to UFC or I don't know, WWE, right? Brands. Yeah. How many freaking belts are there? And I don't understand the rankings, the things like that, all this other stuff. Like, why not have, hey, I'm starting MMA. Where do I go? Well, you go to Strikeforce and you work your way through Strikeforce. Then you can go to Bellator and you work your way through Bellator. And then you know what? I got a new contract. I'm going to UFC now with the big boys, right? I'm doing my stuff there, and I'm their champion now, and I have this lineage. Why can't boxing have some kind of, like, they say they have this unified body, and no one's ever explained to me correctly. I don't get it. I don't understand boxing. I understand the sport. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of like math and science and mentality that goes into it in a really good fight. But man, like, they need something to unify. So I understand the casual person can sit there and be like, all right, they work for this company, right? Like De La Hoya. Let's say De La Hoya has his own boxing thing, right? He has his own not production, but like promotions, right? De La Hoya, Golden Boy Productions. There we go. Right. They produce a bunch of fights. They get a bunch of fights going and stuff like that. Why not have a Golden Boy Federation and work your way through that to get the Golden Boy title? Make it prestigious, like have Tyson Fury be like their Golden Boy heavyweight champion, and then go to the WBC, like whatever. Make it mean something to me. That's my little rant, because I've never able to been talk about it, right. And I want boxing to be good, but when it's not good like this, and everything is like, well, we don't recognize you because you're doing this, and you're going over here, you're not doing this, and you didn't defend this. Make different companies, make different federations, and then guess what? Adapt WWE style, make it a little more entertainment than it already is, which is really fun. And I'm going to do what I've always been doing now. UFC.
Now, I've never been a huge boxing fan, but when you get a good boxing match, there's nothing like it, really. I mean, there's really not. Boxing,
no doubt. Tyson Fury and Wilder was great.
Boxing's biggest issue, and I would say that there's too much lineage in all these different federations, like you said. That's where you got all these titles. It is confusing as shit. You can't be
that Wilder has like 8 belts.
It's like you know? UFC at times can be confusing with the interim titles. There's been times where there's been like 3 different interim champions of the same title, and then one guy's got 3 titles and they're calling them the undisputed, but then there's 5 other titles somewhere else, and it just doesn't. It's so like, and then they're fighting each other when they have the titles, but it's for the one title but not the other one, and it's just, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's all about making that guy looked their best. It's like Mayweather, was trying to get certain amount of wins until he was done. So they were almost picking out fights they know he can win, and it sucks because, like you said, it's Mayweather got to pick whoever the hell he wanted to fight. There wasn't a promoter sitting there saying, no, you're going to fight him. This is where our money match is, because he's like, no, I don't need this.
I am the money. Yeah.
I don't need this. You need me. It's like Dana White. In the peak of Conor McGregor, telling Conor McGregor who he's going to fight. If he didn't want to fight somebody, Conor can be like, nah, I ain't going to fight. That's where all your money is. The other guys ain't going to fight in the card either. They all want to be on the card I'm on because they're going to make more money. So, like, it's boxing has that issue where it's too many guys now, like you said, with the Don King thing, and now you have certain guys that want to
try to bring it back up to where it was.
They're trying to build their own prestige. Two, boxing. It's going to sound weird, but you see what happened with like Muhammad Ali at the end of his thing. It's like in a weird way, and football and MMA are just as dangerous, if not more so. But boxing has that when you're getting punched in the head for 15 rounds. It has a weirdly more violent perception than somebody punching you with his bare fists in MMA. I find that hilarious. It has that. And then from a fan's perspective, if you're not fully into boxing, what would you rather watch? A 3-round, 3 minutes per round in MMA, where a guy could get knocked out at any point, or a 12-round, I think it's a minute and a half per round in boxing? I could be wrong. I don't think it's 3 minutes. I think it's a minute and a half. Again, I could be off on that, but
if you don't get two boxers that mesh, rounds. Oh, it's a slog, dude.
Yeah, it's like watching baseball at home. It really is, because you get one guy, especially the champion. If he wins the first 2 rounds, he's just floating around trying to get it. Now it's I had 12 punches landed. He had 9. I won this round. It's about winning rounds at that point. It's not about knocking him out. And
shouldn't it be that? It shouldn't be the guy knocking him out.
And that's the excitement from the fan perspective. You know, I have watched strategic fights and absolutely love them, especially when it's a guy who probably shouldn't win is now getting his shots in. You're like, oh shit, the champion like has to win a couple of rounds here because he's definitely getting out. And then that's a whole other thing. Judges. We've seen too many times boxing has the worst record when it comes to the champion got outfought, but because he's the champion, they decided to give him extra points when nobody had those points on that end.
Yeah.
And what was their criteria, and not really having to answer for the criteria. They basically get to vote how they want, and then each state has their own rules when it comes to boxing. Where
that's a difficult thing as well. Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like,
yeah.
I just love how this turned into a boxing thing.
Yeah, I know.
But
I tried not to, but I was like, I've never got to talk about this to anybody.
And me, I'm a huge sports guy, so I will talk about anything sports, boxing included. I was always a guy. Tyson's fighting, I watch. I would never even was a huge Mayweather fan, but like if it's a big fight, I watch it. And usually the undercard is where you get a lot of the better fights because they're the guys trying to show off. But like again, Jake and Logan Paul now have put a spotlight on boxing between them and these celebrity shows that they've been having. Where now, like,
I almost went to one, by the way,
but it was
Lamar Odom. I almost went to Lamar Odom versus.
But like, was that that was Jake Paul, right? That knocked out Nate Robinson, I think. Right, it wasn't Logan. I think it was Jake.
I think it was Jake. Yeah.
And then and was that the Tyson Roy Jones show where Snoop Dogg rapped?
That was
right
fun.
Before.
The exhibition. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
And then there was the rumors of Tyson and Holyfield and shit like that. But the Pauls.
If I was Holyfield, I would have straight up knocked just one punch. Hey man, you get one solid punch. I'm sorry for biting you in the ear. That's fair. I'm gonna try to knock you out though.
Jake,
it's an exhibition. I'm gonna try to murder you, sir.
Now, Jake and Logan Paul, they might be spoiled rich kids that that never had to work a day in their lives, but they are self promoters, like no other. And the thing is,
their brand.
It puts a spotlight on it. Is it a jokey spotlight? I mean but in all honesty, we're doing a podcast about a fake. And I will say fake. I'm sorry for you out there that heard me say fake. I know it's scripted. It's not fake. For a fake sport in wrestling. A lot of people think that is a joke. So the idea of like, oh, it's a joke, they're making a mockery. Well, boxing made a mockery of itself for years, and it still does to this day.
It's supposed to be legitimate. Yeah.
Guys are at least making money on these shows. That's a reason why undercard guys would rather go fight on an undercard of this, because they're selling out buildings. People are watching. I mean, I watch. And it's not because I'm like, ooh, I want to see Logan Paul win. Ooh, I want to see Jake Paul win. I want to see them knocked out. I mean, and I think that's why a lot of people are watching.
And unfortunately, that's still not yet to happen.
But like, that's now you're gonna come a little bit full circle into Logan Paul being the Miz's partner, and he is a brand name. He is.
He's a brand. Yeah.
As much as you hate to admit that somebody got famous for not being famous, because YouTube's a thing. It is a thing. We had Snooki years ago, and I could tell you she was one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen at WrestleMania, because she has you didn't expect it. You're like, what the hell is she going to do? She's going to fall down. And then she's got the cheerleader background. They let her do that. Is that the Kelly move, the whole where she does like the spin and then the kind of like back elbow or whatever.
Had that too, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of female wrestlers, especially,
more impressive to see Chyna do it. I always thought that was more impressive. She was just so bulky. Like I didn't expect her to move so fast.
But like I fully expect him to get so into it. Jake
was there recently, right?
I think it was Logan both times.
Oh,
I think. But like, yeah, I don't think
I really can't tell them apart.
Yeah, I know Jake's the one that's supposed to be a more serious boxer. Out of the two of them, but he brings eyes to the product, whether wrestling fans like it or not. That's the whole point of WrestleMania. I've said it over and over and over again. If you're somebody who watches WWE, you're going to watch WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even watch
the most
WWE.
casual of casual people, right?
Yeah,
like,
you want to bring in other eyes. It's like if the Super Bowl didn't have the halftime show it did, or commercials, would you ever even think about watching the Super Bowl?
Right? Yeah. I think you have to love football, right?
Yeah,
to be
and that's what I'm saying. I'm like asking you more specifically, right? Because you're not like super into football.
I'm into football. I'm into like most sports. It's like dividing time.
Right.
I think I mentioned to you off air. So like, I love the Sixers, love the Eagles, love the Flyers. Love the Phillies. If it was
just two teams that you had no interest in the Super Bowl
at all, yeah. Like, well, for instance, this year I wasn't interested in the Rams or the I don't know why I can't remember the other team. I watched the whole Super Bowl too.
The Bengals.
Bengals. I wasn't interested in it because I don't really care for either team.
Right.
But because they were so new faces technically, and they haven't been into this game for like the Super Bowl for so long, that I was like, oh, I'm interested in this. And I actually enjoyed the game part of it. Then, of course, the main course for me, you're right, is the commercials, the halftime show.
Hey, I am probably one of the biggest football fans there is. I don't need to watch the Eagles. Fantasy football, everything. I can just sit there and watch football. I watched most of the XFL games before that folded. I will probably watch some of these USFL games. I love football. I could tell you that my interest during this Super Bowl, and I was interested in the teams because they were new teams, was more into the commercials. I told Jess a couple of times, stop talking to me during the commercials, talk to me during the game. And that's unusual, but like I'm like, now I want to see that there's some trailers coming out, I want to see if there's anything funny. And then the halftime show had my most attention. So like it's that idea that people are going to come and watch WrestleMania for Logan Paul. They're going to come and watch WrestleMania because of Ronda Rousey. They're going to come and watch WrestleMania because Brock Lesnar. And then the idea is, if you don't know who Roman Reigns is, when Roman Reigns beats Brock Lesnar, then you're like, this dude's badass.
Yeah.
He beat
Brock Lesnar. It's trying to get new eyes, right? You're making new fans all the time.
Oh, wait. Ric Flair's daughter wrestles? I thought I heard that. She just beat Ronda Rousey? Really? And then that's the idea, is let maybe they watch Monday because they want to see what happens afterwards, and that's the whole point, is to get more fans to come in. It's not the casuals, and it sucks because when or not casuals, the hardcores, because the hardcore fans wants WrestleMania to be about them, and it's never going to be. It's never going to be.
No, it's similar to SummerSlam as well. There's celebrities there, like all the time too.
But like it. Again, from a casual person, again, I'm not a Logan Paul fan, but I understand the interest there. Bad Bunny, I mean, did everything last year. Logan Paul now is being held to a standard that Pat McAfee and Bad Bunny has almost unfairly put celebrities in. And hell, I would even put Johnny Knoxville was impressive for celebrity standards with his whole thing with Sami Zayn. And he has that, one, the acting, and two, being thrown around like a fucking rag doll that, you know what I mean?
Literally his life,
he'll allow that.
This is where I'll interject myself real quick and mention the thing I wanted to talk about off air. I'm going to mention this real quick, and then we can go back to the subject. I would love a 3-way match between Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, and Stephen Amell. My 3 favorite celebrity, wrestlers.
Yeah.
I want those 3 to happen because I think those 3 are literally the bar. Right. They are the bar. Anything you have to try to achieve that level.
Yeah. Yeah, especially now Pat McAfee, quote unquote, is an athlete, but he's not. Yeah. He was a punter. He wasn't a real athlete. I think he'll agree with you that he wasn't a real athlete. Usually it's the athletes that come out and do stuff. I mean, I talked about Lawrence Taylor when we did our Hall of Fame, and he was my celebrity I put in there was Lawrence Taylor. You have Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone. You have a lot of history with Shaq. We talked about where you said we're never going to get that match, and I made a joke on our thing when everybody was questioning what Tony Khan's huge announcement was, and I said it's going to be Shaq against Big Show, and what can be bigger than that? The two biggest guys in the world,
literally big.
Yeah, it's huge. But like, we could still get that in AEW, and I still feel like that. I mean, Big Show's only wrestled one time against QT Marshall, so I mean, we might get him against Big Shaq at some point, whenever Shaq wants to come back and wrestle. But like, usually you get the athletes. I just mentioned Snooki as being a surprise one, but she has a cheerleading background.
That's right. Yeah.
So you usually get that, and then for all of them, you get a guy like Jay Leno, who has no business in there.
God damn, yeah.
Who has no business.
David Arquette back in the day.
But
David Arquette in WCW.
He put effort kind of into it.
He redeemed himself.
When there are people that put effort into it, at least it is Stephen Amell. Bad Bunny went above and beyond. McAfee, you could tell, and McAfee literally launched all that into being probably their best broadcaster.
Yeah, honestly, he's the best like color column.
It's apparently, and now apparently it's because they just allow him to be himself. I read the one thing they said that from a fan's perspective, you should also appreciate this. Apparently, was it before Elimination Chamber? It was before one of the matches, maybe at Royal Rumble. They said they were talking about the finish of a match. And it was McAfee, Cole, and the wrestlers, and McAfee walked away. And he said, "I'd like to be surprised. I don't want to know the finish." So so his reactions that come out and seem so genuine usually are because he does not know what's about to happen.
I've only I've not met obviously, but I've only seen one person on Twitter who. I follow a lot of people like wrestling people who talk about, or people like us who talk about wrestling. I've only met one person online who was like, "Nah, he's not for me." But universally, he seems like the most like. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, and I think Vince gives him a leash because he knows the appeal comes from him being off the cuff.
Yeah.
And I think McAfee's the type of person that would just ignore him. Because he probably knows, and I'd be willing to bet that AEW would pay him a shit ton of money to go there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's you want to talk about people AEW would throw a blank check to? I think he's one of the handful, and we're talking about an announcer here. Think about this: we're talking about an announcer. That I feel like he would have a blank check because he has the appeal of his podcast and everything like that.
That's I was going to mention that. Like he's that his show and podcast are like huge. Like it does huge numbers. And it's really, I mean, think about, look, as controversial it was, dude, like he was the one who broke the Aaron Rodgers stuff. Yeah. With the, not getting vaccinated, he was vaccinated holistically by some shaman probably in the tent. And with peyote, I don't know, but yeah, he broke that. He had that whole thing, man. Everyone was talking about it, and where's the only place you could watch that? All Pack of McAfee stuff. Keep watching. He's still gonna talk about wrestling because he's a color commentator at WWE.
And here's where I will defend him over Bad Bunny, and this is not a knock on Bad Bunny because Bad Bunny did excellent. McAfee had a singles match with Adam Cole. He didn't come out with like Damian Priest to help him. You know what I mean? Like he came out and had a singles match against Adam Cole and impressed in that singles match. A lot of these names,
Warrior Games.
Yeah, a lot of these names that I'm throwing out there, Karl Malone, Dennis Rodman, Jay Leno. I mean, Stephen Amell might be the only other one that we watched wrestle 1-on-1, and that wasn't his first match.
No,
right?
He
wrestled some type of tag team thing in
he's had
WWE.
3 matches in total.
Yeah,
he's technically Bullet Club.
But he's
got that match.
Yeah. When he made his debut was WWE, right? And that was a tag match.
Actually, funny enough, I have it over here on the side. Yeah, Amell was in 2015 SummerSlam, and it was him and Pac, who at the time was known as Neville, versus Stardust and King Barrett.
Yeah. So that's where I mean, McAfee's a different breed.
Honestly, the fact that he really is, though.
The fact that he's launched what he did, and he could wrestle again at any time if he wanted to. I feel like, I mean, he probably got that out of his system, and he's making such a great career. But that's
which is great, right? Because I want him. I want him at least for one more match, and he doesn't need to. But that's how good he is. That I'm like,
we are talking. Now thinking about that, there's the rumor that Corey Graves got cleared, right? Is anybody saying I want one more match out of Corey Graves? I mean, really? Is anybody
just me? But I don't want like a WrestleMania match.
But that's what I'm saying.
I want like a SummerSlam match.
Like wouldn't I would pay money to see McAfee show up at AEW and challenge Adam Cole for the championship?
Oh my dude!
I would pay money to see it.
The fact that he still calls him a bum. Like, he's still a guy. Like, they're good friends.
Yeah.
You know they're good friends. Dude does not break. Like, that's the level of respect that Pat McAfee has for the business. That's the level of respect the business has for him. So that's the thing, too. That's another thing that we have to factor in is how much respect that celebrity is paying to the business, right?
Yeah.
And that's what... So when you have, like a Snooki, right? And there's no knock on her. I think she did okay in her match. There's a lot of backstage BS that went on through that match. If you ever heard stories about Morrison and Trish Stratus and all that crap, like there's a lot of shitty stuff happening in that stuff, and a lot of egos for no fucking reason. Like Trish didn't need that shit. But like Pat, Steven, and Bad Bunny are 3 people we can undoubtedly say have respect for the business and have earned respect from high people within that industry. And that's why I never have, like, dude, when Bad Bunny, like, Royal Rumble was happening and someone in the stands, right? They said, I guess they went to get, like, a beer or whatever. And then they went later, like, to grab another beer or food or whatever. And at the merch stand, they already had a new Bad Bunny shirt that was not there when they walked in. They were like, oh, shit. Bad Bunny's here tonight then.
Right.
So, dude, I got hype. I was like, oh my God. Like this, I actually like him in the ring. He did amazing in the Royal Rumble. Yeah. He took bumps left and right. I'm like, this dude, that's like shows the level of respect that this dude has. And then, you get Pat McAfee fucking wrestled in War Games. What? Yeah. There's no celebrity that wrestled in War Games, right? Not that I could think of.
But that's what, like...
You feel like WCW would have pulled some dumb shit like that. Get like, I don't know, Regis Philbin to be in War Games for some dumb fucking reason.
But that's, like, well, was Terminator War Games? I know it was a cage match. I think, when he came out with Sting.
RoboCop, you mean?
Or RoboCop,
yeah. That was a regular match, yeah.
But, that's what, like you said, there's those 3. I feel like Shaq took it serious when they came to AEW. I think he has a lot of respect as well. Yeah, he has went on saying, like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, and that's why he wanted to hit some spots in that tag match. And then you got
Logan Paul was in it. So yeah, it was Logan Paul. We were right. I was looking at the list that I have up here. So it was Logan Paul.
It was Logan. It wasn't Jake. He got
stunned by Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens, yeah. That's what I said. I thought it was because I thought they talked about him returning, so I assumed it was still him. Yeah, because who's that? Who's the rapper? I want to call him. Dude, I don't. These kids these days in their music. No, now Megan, the one with Megan Fox.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, I want to call him Mac Miller. I don't know why. Machine Gun Kelly,
because he, white rapper, a better one.
He got he got power bombed through a table by. Well, he's going to be in 2K. There you go. There's a whole transition here.
There's your brain.
With celebrities. Yeah, I could tell you one thing. I was not going to buy the game at launch, and now I am because Machine Gun Kelly's in there. For those of you that are listening to us, I rolled my eyes.
Yes. Also, 2K Games. Can you respond to that email I sent you? Just saying.
Give me Pat McAfee playable, and I might consider it.
I legit would I'd be happy. I ain't gonna lie.
You gave me Machine Gun Kelly, and this is where they can make up for lack of a roster. And I will say that if you give us Bad Bunny and Pat McAfee, on this roster, I might consider it. Because I'm like, this is interesting. I would love to be able to be Pat McAfee.
There's definitely someone who would be upset, but here's a good thing, right? We were talking about the appeal that celebrities have, right? The what they're there for, right? They bring eyes to the product,
right?
My niece knew, she lived with us for about 2 years, and she knew how much I love wrestling, and so it was WrestleMania time. I try to block those days out. Or, with kids now, it's kind of difficult. I want to watch this. I want to watch that. I want to watch 8 hours of wrestling, okay, within 2 days. God, you're so selfish, taking every time. Me. But anyway, so she texted me, and she was like, listen, let me know when Bad Bunny's match is on. Because she loves him. She loves his music. Right. So I'm like, all right, got you. I think it was Sunday eventually, so I ended up texting her, we happened to be eating dinner in the living room. She's like, oh, cool. It's perfect timing. So, she watched that match. And then I had my friend's fiance come over. And we were talking about Bad Bunny. And I was like, oh, yeah, he just wrestled at WrestleMania. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, yeah, he's actually really good. She's like, no. I was like, well, here we go. Let's put on WrestleMania. Threw on Peacock. Threw it on. And let's watch it. And she was glued to the TV. I mean, mind you, she ain't going to watch wrestling again. Right. But I had her for 15 minutes. Watch wrestling, and she was enthralled because she likes Bad Bunny. She's like, oh my God, he's actually doing good. I'm like, no, he is actually doing really good.
Yeah.
And that's, who knows, if you can get that person for those 15 minutes and they're hooked. Like they said, maybe they watch the rest of the car, or maybe they just want to hang out with their friend. They'll come over, have a couple drinks. We're like, wait, what is this? Oh yeah, this dude's actually pretty decent. Who's that Big E guy? Oh yeah, he's good. He should be world champion. Yes, he should.
That's all it takes. I mean, WrestleMania especially, they know it, again. It's like the Super Bowl. NFL does crazy numbers, but when the Super Bowl comes around, it does huge numbers.
Yeah.
And the idea is, if you can pull 1 out of 100 people to say that game was really fun. Who's this Joe Burrow guy? He's a second-year player. Oh, Cincinnati's fun to watch. They got a bunch of young guys out there gonna. The Rams. Who's Aaron Donald? Who's this guy? You know what I mean? All it takes is have a couple people, and now you have people who are watching the product. And the same thing, you watch it, and you're going and like, ooh, I want to see Logan Paul, and then you're like, who's his partner? He's funny. The Miz. Who's that? And then you start looking up.
That guy from the real world.
Nah.
But he's the guy from the real world.
It's not going to bring huge fans. And again, this is where hardcore fans don't necessarily like that it takes away a spot from somebody who earned it. And I agree with them to a point that I feel like WrestleMania is one of those things that I feel like everybody should be paid like they're on the card. I don't know. I feel like if those guys are being paid for being the workhorses 11 months out of the year, I think it would just have a different feel. And I think that was one of the things Punk fought for, where he was annoyed that The Rock and Cena was already the main event, and he didn't have a chance at it because he wanted just as much more than anything. He felt like he deserved a spot to make main event money. And they can say it till they're blue in the face, and he has said this, and I'm pretty sure other wrestlers have said it too. They can call 6 matches the main event, but only one of them gets paid like the main event. Yeah. And you don't think of it. You don't think of it as a fan perspective that like all these guys are making equal money, but it's no different than anything else. It's no different than a Conor McGregor fight. All those guys are not splitting the purse of those pay-per-view buys. Conor McGregor is making more than the rest of them combined. but they're making more money because there's more buys than they normally would, and that's the idea. I don't think Punk had a problem with The Rock and Cena bringing more eyes and more money onto it. I think he had an issue with the fact that, like, all right, well then pay me like I'm in the main event, even though I'm not the main event.
Yeah, or put me in that match.
Yeah.
Storyline wise, he was right. It made sense for him to be in that match, and it was just forgotten.
So, like, these celebrities are bringing eyes to it. That's where I feel like those guys should benefit from it, from all that hard work. And then a lot of them, their goal was to main event WrestleMania, and it's just not going to happen for most of them. And it sucks. It sucks. But it's not going to, because when you got a guy like Roman Reigns, he's going to, as long as he's going to wrestle, he's going to be in the main event.
Yeah.
He's been in the main event now for years, and he will continue to be in the main event until Braun Breaker is in the main event every year. It's what WWE does. It's not anything different. If you look back at all the main events, I guarantee you, it's like watching Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
That's
If you go back,
that's why
and
Cena
look at
got
it,
that comparison so many times.
if you go back and look at it, I think it was one of those things. Was it this year or last year? It was like the first time. It must have been this year. It was like the first time in like 10 years that like Roethlisberger, Rodgers, or Brady was not in a championship game, AFC or NFC. It was like, or something like that, where like,
yeah, I know
it's been the same guys at the top for so long, and that's what WrestleMania is. If you go back, I mean, Hogan was in it for years, and then you got Austin and The Rock were in it for years, and then Cena is in it for years, and you got a lot of guys sprinkled in as you go along, but there's a lot of the same faces. So
Roman's that guy now. And you're right. Braun Breaker's the next one. And
it's always going to be that way. And we see all these guys work for their spot, and it sucks. It sucks to see them. The yes movement had to happen because of CM Punk leaving. And that does not happen without CM Punk leaving. Everybody wants to say he took his ball and went home and stuff. We don't get. Bryan Danielson does not win the title at WrestleMania without that happening.
Where he was in the card? Nah. Absolutely not.
They pushed that.
Because that was like the last straw for us.
Yeah. They pushed that purely. The crowd reaction did some of it, but they pushed that because I felt like they needed to do some damage control because of the negative CM Punk press. And they knew this was probably the time to do it. Let's throw this in there because they're both ROH Hall of Famers. You know, they have a weird connection where they're like, all right, well, Punk left, people were upset. Bryan Danielson at the time was a weirdly more household name than CM Punk because everybody was doing those yes chants at every sporting event. If there was any time to do it, it's right then, and I don't think we get that without Punk.
No, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And then, listen, you know, just a reference to tonight's AEW Dynamite as we're recording, without Punk, failing MJF, in every way, shape, or form, just breaking his heart, you don't get Danielson, doing like, you're right. You're completely right. And then, there's a ripple effect in all of wrestling with that. But yeah, like that, celebrities bring those eyes, and then like I've mentioned before, the hope is that they can continue to watch. It's what I want to, like I like to call it the Marvel movie effect, right? The idea of the Marvel movie is, hey, you don't read comic books, but these stories are awesome. So let me show you what this world is. And maybe after 10 of these movies, you'd be like, you know what, man, I kind of like that Captain Marvel. She seems pretty cool. Let me start buying her books. What's going on over here? Oh, so she is half Kree. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's different from the movies that I watch. Oh, yeah, Venom? Oh, Venom's like cosmic? Wait, what? He's got a son? What? He's cool with Peter now? Like, they're best friends? That's weird. Like, you get stuff like that. I've seen so many people who've, like, watched MCU stuff, just for the nerdy side, like, watch, like, MCU stuff, watch Daredevil on Netflix, and the next thing you're like, yo, this Daredevil guy's real cool. Wait, who's this Brian Michael Bendis guy? He writes them? Let me check out his books. He's got, like, 8 books. Yeah, let me spend $80. You got him, right? That's the idea. You hook them with something like that, and then or video games or something like that, and next thing you know, they're reading the book. So yeah, you get some celebrity to show up, and you're mildly interested in this celebrity, and next thing you know, you're like rooting for the Miz.
Yeah.
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 That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And not all of it hit. Like, I'm looking at this list right now, right? So, Stephen Amell, yeah, you got some eyes at SummerSlam. Bad Bunny, biggest musical artist in the world. Yeah, you got a bunch of eyes. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Yeah, of course, you're getting some eyes there, right? Jon Stewart, Gronkowski. I think there was a plan with that. Right? It seemed like he was going to be like a full-time and possibly wrestler.
Yeah. I think if he didn't, if Brady doesn't end up in Tampa and he doesn't unretire, I think his plan was to at least wrestle for a couple years and be semi-regular with wrestling.
Yeah, that's the idea, guy. Maybe it could happen still. You never know, especially with Brady retiring. Hopefully, he stays retired. Kim Kardashian. I highly doubt a Kim Kardashian fan's like, yo, let me watch WrestleMania, and then like 8 hours in, like she was in it for 2 minutes, not even.
But again, it's like funny because
Snooki though,
right? And I'm looking through a different list than you. But Kim Kardashian was a hostess. She wasn't involved in a match. Yeah. But if they say, hey, Kim Kardashian's going to be there, I'm sure it brought eyes onto it. And if it didn't bring eyes into people who are fans of her, you know what it did bring? It brought a lot of national media attention. And that's the other thing, too. It brings national media attention because they're like, oh, Kim Kardashian showed up. And it's this long article about how she stood there for 10 seconds. And then they start talking about the wrestling. And it's the same idea. Now it's an article written about wrestling where you thought you were reading about Kim Kardashian. And now you're reading about Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, and look at the earliest example we have, right? And it where it worked, and because it worked that one time, we're continuing to do it. Cyndi Lauper. Like, we can't take away her contribution to the wrestling world, because if that Rock and wrestling connection doesn't happen, we don't have WrestleMania, and we don't have WrestleMania 38 or whatever we're gonna be. Yeah, it's 38, right? We don't have that. You don't like without Mr. T, we don't have where we're at WrestleMania. Without Muhammad Ali even showing up as a referee. Like, Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all time. Like, you don't get him. Like, that's it. Like, there's, like, little things that, like, there's ripple effects. And all that starts back in the day. And, of course, listen, Vince, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. So he's going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And we just happen to get lucky with some of these people.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to piss hardcore fans off. It just is. Oh, yeah. It's always going to be. I'm looking.
I used to be like that. Until I saw people who respected the business, and now I'm like, oh, my hope now is that when you're coming into this world that I love watching, you at least respect the business enough that it's not going to be horrible.
I'm looking through some of the most iconic things when you think about wrestling, even from a hardcore fan's perspective. I mean, you say Mike Tyson, you think of the whole Stone Cold Shawn Michaels thing. You must know exactly what he was involved in when you think of him. I'm looking through Bob Uecker, that image of Andre the Giant choking him. Then you got I've spoken about it a couple of times that Lawrence Taylor. Reggie White was actually there with Lawrence Taylor.
That's right. Yeah.
But Lawrence Taylor wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow. Steve Mongo McMichael was a horseman.
Yeah.
We'll go
Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone. You mentioned.
Yeah, that's Dennis Rodman got so into the NWO thing, and I think it brought more eyes onto the NWO. At that time, wrestling was more cool. But like Mike Tyson and Dennis Rodman, for as bad their bad boy personas were, especially Tyson, I think, was coming off of the whole being arrested for being a very nice guy. But I think that was fresh off of him being arrested, where WWE was going back and forth and like, hey, should we be using him off of this? And controversy creates cash, and it doesn't matter.
And you putting this stick of dynamite next to another stick of dynamite in Steve Austin, and just like letting them go, and like it's crazy. That's an insane Raw moment, and then it goes into WrestleMania.
I mean, Donald Trump.
Yeah,
I mean, I could tell you
he's been featured how many times at WrestleMania,
but like
Jesus.
That the one thing that comes to mind is the hair versus hair match.
Yeah, and Umaga versus Bobby Lashley.
And I was gonna say, most, and maybe the casual fans don't know who wrestled in that match, but I could tell you, hardcore fans know exactly who wrestled in that match. And you know why we remember that match? We remember it because it was the match that Donald Trump was out there and they shaved Vince's head. Why? Yeah. Because we were like, are they really going to shave Donald Trump's head? Like we that went through our head that, hey, this might happen.
Yeah, and this actually might happen. And then at least we got Stone Cold giving him the stunner.
But like, they're so. I mean, Pete Rose.
I'm not gonna make a political joke. That was so close. Yeah, Pete Rose coming up at like all the WrestleManias and just getting chokeslammed by.
It show up as the chicken. The
gobbledygooker.
Yeah,
it was a chicken. No, he was just like a random ass chicken.
They always called it this something chicken, and I'm checking.
Yeah.
What the hell?
No, technically the gobbledygooker is his own thing. As horrible as that sounds.
Can't? Oh my god, this is gonna bother me. I gotta find this out real quick. But like, remember he would show up in the chicken outfit as the WrestleMania, and Kane would take the mask off all the time, and he'd be
he like almost pissed himself and then get his ass beat.
It was San Diego chicken. I could not think of what state. But yeah, it became like this funny thing because San Diego chicken showed up and it would be Pete Rose every time. But like, think about that. Like, we're sitting here and shitting. And I had no fucking clue who Bad Bunny was. I'm not gonna lie.
No, that's fair.
No, absolutely no clue. And a lot of people were like, I've never heard of him. And then you start seeing that like he's got more fans than most people, and you're like, well, a lot of people did hear of him.
Yeah.
It's no different than a lot of people have an issue with the halftime show at the Super Bowl, and it was by far my favorite one because it was my childhood.
Prince is my favorite. Yeah.
I mean that was our generation's childhood right there. Mm-hmm. I know they don't like to go, and I think it was the first time that there was like rap as a halftime show.
Yeah.
So honestly. Like it was, but it. I mean, for people, especially our generation. It's the same idea. Like, we might not have all been huge rap fans, but most of us were fans of one of them. Yeah. You know, you might not have been a fan of Snoop Dogg and Dre and 50 Cent and Eminem and Mary J. Blige. You might not have been a fan of all of them, but you were probably a fan of one of them and a lot of their songs. Regardless if you were into that music or not, and I, for the life of me, I can't remember the other guy who performed with
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, he's more.
He's newer.
He's newer, right? Yeah,
he's good.
It just goes to show you that like most of my music stopped when I finished high school. I'm not gonna lie to you, I still listen to fucking CDs. I feel so old, like an old man saying this now. Like back in my day, the music was better. I mean,
you start aging in front of the camera.
I'm going to. It got moved to July, but I'm going to see Motion City Soundtrack. For those of you out there that know who they are, literally do an album that came out now 17, 18 years ago. They were supposed to be doing a 15-year anniversary, but like. I'm going to watch them perform songs that came out 15 years ago, purely because I still listen to that shit and I don't listen to the new stuff. So, but it was like it was a cool, mixing in Kendrick Lamar with them. I mean, I've always said I would go see today. I'd go see Eminem perform. I've never seen him perform. There's very few people that I would pay a lot of money to go see, and he's one of them. But yeah, it's that same idea. I would watch WrestleMania tomorrow if you told me Eminem was going to be there in some way, because I'd be interested in seeing it. So I completely get. They don't want my eyes. We're old, Carlos. No. We're old news. They don't want our eyes.
That's the unfortunate thing, right?
They want kids to say, "Ooh, I know who Jake Paul is, or I know who Logan Paul is. I want to see this. And then they go on there, and Miz is wrestling a zombie, and they're like, "There's zombies? Oh, wow, what is this? When is this on?" You know?
What do you mean there's zombies? That guy's dead?
There's a superhero? Oh, man, look at her. She's got a cape on. I want to see this.
Why is she beating up the other person?
Yeah. They don't want that. I've said this, WWE is at least smart in the sense that they want my money. They don't want my eyes. They want my kids' eyes.
Yeah.
Because if my kids' eyes are on it, they get my money. Which is why my kids get FGTV stuff and all these other YouTube people, because that's what they want. So that's what I get them. So if they get my kids' eyes, they get my money. And that's all they want. They don't want our eyes anymore, Carlos. And once people start understanding that about WWE, and I went so positive on this, and this is a good thing. I love that they bring in celebrities. It is worth the money. It's worth the money that they pay Brock Lesnar. It is worth the money that they pay Ronda Rousey. It is worth the money, and I'm going to throw up in my mouth while I say this. It is worth the money that they pay Goldberg. It is. I don't care how bad his match is. It is. It's the same reason why Sting gets featured on AEW. I don't care. You could tell me, he could still go. He can't go at the rate he could. There's a reason why he only wrestles in tag matches, because he can't really go. But he still sells merch.
Mm-hmm.
He still brings eyes. And Jim Ross is awful in announcing. But guess what? He's a name. That's the only reason why he's there. If they showed up with Excalibur and some guy nobody ever heard of on the announce desk without Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross, it would be difficult. I think it would be. It would have, to bring in people from the beginning, if they didn't have Schiavone and Jim Ross there, and hell, Taz too. Those are names that people know, and that's unfortunately, people know Goldberg.
Yeah, and that's hopefully the thing, right? Like these people pass the torch eventually down the line, right? Like you would have to assume Brock Lesnar's almost done, right?
Yeah,
I'm like, it's like a hate-love thing, right? Like, I hate that he's WWE champion, but I get why he's WWE champion in this match, right? Coming up, so it's champion versus champion for everything. I get it. He is that attraction. He is that like old school carny wrestling thing, right? He's the marquee. Right. He's the thing that you have on the poster when you look.
Yeah,
he's this undefeatable monster and stuff like that. So yeah, I get that. That's where like WWE's not for me in that sense. Like, it's not catered to me. They're catering to a billion people because they're like, hey, Brock Lesnar, he did pretty good in UFC. Oh, he's still in WWE. That's cool. Oh, he's WWE champion. Oh, he's wrestling The Rock's cousin for his belt. So they have 2 belts. Oh, okay, I'll check this out. Yeah, sure. Oh wait, you know what? Right now I even have Peacock. I didn't realize I have Xfinity. Then I got Peacock. Yeah, sure, I'll turn it on. I ain't got nothing to do on this random Saturday. There you go. You got new fans. And then they start listening to Apron Work podcast. And then they start liking us. And that's awesome. Then they start giving us money. Then we quit our jobs.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I get to meet Brian Zane. There you go. I slid it in there. I was like, we almost made the whole episode without saying it.
Mecca, I'm sorry.
He's like, I made it through this whole goddamn episode, you motherfuckers.
But like you said, Brock's got to be done soon, and that's the thing. That's where this whole, we have 10 to 15 years of John Cena making one-off appearances at WrestleMania. We have Batista, who will still bring in money. Triple H ain't anywhere close to being done in the long scheme of things, of showing one-off appearances of him wrestling. Yeah. There is a lot of guys that I know everybody thinks once Brock's gone and once Goldberg's gone, that we're now going to suddenly start getting these wonderful, wonderful AJ Styles against Kevin Owens and Finn Balor and main events at WrestleMania. It ain't happening, because when Roman if Roman retires, there's that rumor that he's gone. he probably will still show up for one-offs.
Oh yeah.
And it's just it's not WrestleMania and WWE as a whole has never been about giving the guys their due. So I don't know where people's gotten this weird perception of it. There's a reason why Macho Man was never a main event guy unless he was associated with Hogan. He had best matches on the card, but that meant shit. Because that's not what he was.
The only thing that I think a lot of people get that in their head is because of Benoit, Guerrero, WrestleMania 20, and then 10 years later, Danielson, WrestleMania 30. Like, that is that collective moment for us who've been watching since day one, since we were babies, to, especially at that time, to be like, oh my God, these are three people who would not have normally made it in WWE. Whether it be demons, size, both, and other just at stature, work rate, anything like that. And here they are holding these belts at the end of 8 hours.
But that took a lot of circumstance, a lot of outside things to lead to those things. And
honestly, you're right, because Brock was retiring. Or he was done already. Yeah. He was already done.
I mean, it's the... Unfortunately, you see it, like you said, you've seen it happen. But think about how many years you've been watching wrestling and you've been able to name 3. And didn't 2 of them happen on the same WrestleMania?
Yeah.
So it's not even like they both had their main event end of WrestleMania, right? That was Benoit who had it when Guerrero won the title earlier in the night. Mm-hmm. So, like, for all of these wonderful stories, and it would be nice to see him do this and this person to do that, and they should let him win the Rumble because he deserves it. AJ Styles is probably never going to win the Royal Rumble. He might not ever be the last match at WrestleMania. He just signed a huge contract with them, but he might not, because they view him as the guy who will main event 10 times a year. And then when SummerSlam and WrestleMania come up, it's when they pay the big bucks for somebody to show up one time.
Yeah, that huge match. He's technically a mid-carder, but he's not.
No knock on those hardcore fans out there, and hell, even casual fans. AJ Styles means shit to people who don't watch wrestling. Nobody knows who the fuck he is.
Yeah,
nobody knows who the fuck he is. CM
you
Punk,
have to love this sport to know who he is.
CM Punk and Danielson, people didn't know who the fuck they were. I don't care what anybody says. People knew who Punk is now because he wrestled in UFC and failed, more than the pipe bomb ever put CM Punk's name out there. The pipe bomb's iconic. I don't know that people really were like, oh, CM Punk. Now I think because of the UFC, you have a lot more people who don't watch wrestling that know who CM Punk is. Mm-hmm. Danielson, I'm telling you, they know the yes chant. They don't know where it started.
They probably don't.
None of them know where it started. I only know this because I have too many friends that don't watch wrestling, and I've literally said, "Oh yeah, Brian Danielson." And they'll be like, "Who's that?" And I'll be like, "Did you ever see the yes chants at sporting events?" They'll be like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, that started with him."
Yeah, it's him. He did it.
But it's not. The yes guy. Like it doesn't
register.
Yeah. But if I say Brock Lesnar, everybody knows the fuck that is. I say Goldberg, everybody knows that is. Hulk Hogan, everybody knows that is. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all these guys, they know who they are. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. That's the difference. I say Ric Flair, everybody knows who the fuck that is. Which is why no matter all the shit that happens, Ric Flair will be showing up in WWE again eventually.
Soon. I bet you it's soon, honestly.
Because they just have to. Jim Ross will show up in WWE at some point before he retires. Like there's names that people know even if they don't know wrestling. It's the reason why they bring Jerry the King Lawler back on commentary every 5 years. You're like, dude, he's so bad, but it's a name that brings in people who want to remember their old days because they don't know who Ricochet is. They don't know who Finn Balor is.
Celebrities in wrestling, Andy Kaufman.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. that Man on the Moon, when that came out, I'm sure that's what, like, they probably pushed the shit out of Jerry King Lawler. I don't remember back then exactly what was happening, but
I don't remember that either.
It sucks, but WWE is not there. It's like a big budget movie. You talked about Marvel. Marvel doesn't bring in the best Broadway actors to be their superheroes. There are way better actors out there than who the fuck's the guy that plays Thor?
Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah. There are probably a lot of better actors than him out there. But guess what Chris Hemsworth has that the others don't? The look, because that's what they want. Jason Momoa is Aquaman. Why? I don't think he has the acting chops to be in a main thing like that. Nope, he has a look. And WWE does the same fucking thing. They do. Yeah. Roman Reigns got pushed down our throats to get to this point.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him now.
Finally.
Everybody loves him now. And guess what? Vince is saying, fuck yous all. You spewed this guy at Royal Rumble. You told me I was wrong. I was right, motherfuckers. And everybody's like, no. He's a bad guy now. He does this. And he's like, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
You're still buying his merch as a bad guy. I don't care what you want to view him as. You're watching now.
Like him. I don't give a fuck.
You're buying his stuff. He's in the main event, and you're congratulating me for it when 2 years ago you were hating me for it. He hasn't become a better wrestler. He hasn't. His character has developed more, but most people like it mostly because he's involved with Paul Heyman. Let's be honest here. The storyline around him has got more interesting, but he had the Shield, which was one of the most interesting stories.
Yeah,
in wrestling,
because he was like the least out of them.
Yeah, are any of us saying Jey Uso should be champion, not Roman Reigns right now? But people were saying it should be Seth, it should be Ambrose, not Roman being pushed. So now he's the main guy in his own group. It's like Triple H and Evolution, right? A lot of people had an issue with Triple H. Then Evolution shows up and, oh wow, this is cool. Triple H should be the main guy. Batista should be the muscle. Randy Orton's the young guy. Ric Flair's the old veteran. Suddenly it was weirdly okay for Triple H to be the top guy because Evolution was cool. And they found a way to do that with Roman Reigns. He's involved with Paul Heyman. He's got the Usos. He's got the whole head of the table thing going. And people are like, this is what we wanted. And Vince is like, this is what I've given you for years. You're just now happy because I put him with Paul Heyman. In reality, and put him with guys that you don't view as better wrestlers than him. That's like weirdly what's come out of this.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah. And yeah. So I applaud WWE because they do what they do well. They don't give us good wrestling. They don't give us sensical wrestling. They don't give us, hell, even week to week things that make sense. That a lot of shit gets pulled out of thin air. They give us 50-50 booking. They do this wrong, that wrong. But man, they still make money. And they know how to make money.
And a lot of it.
Yeah, they know how to make money, which is why one of the main event matches, and it won't be a last match, but one of the main event matches that they call main event matches, marquee matches, how about we call it that?
That's better.
We'll have Logan Paul involved.
Oh yeah.
We'll have Brock Lesnar involved. We'll have Ronda Rousey involved. No matter how much you want Bianca Belair and Becky to be a main event, let's be honest here, the most likely one of the main events will be Charlotte against Ronda.
Absolutely.
Because of
that's
Ronda.
That's the night that's closing out night one.
Yeah. And that's because of Ronda. It's not because of Charlotte. It's not because of Becky. It's not because of Bianca. It's not because of anybody else. It's because of Ronda. Just like, well, Reigns and Lesnar has to do with both of them. But that's why both those titles, which are not needed from a wrestling booking standpoint, there's no sense to have any title in that match. You can raise up other matches by having titles involved in the other ones while keeping this non-title.
Just one-on-one. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But Vince don't care about the casual wrestling or the hardcore wrestling fan wanting this to make sense. If you don't watch wrestling and you hear Brock Lesnar's going to be in a main event and you want to watch it, and they both come out with titles, you're going to be like, oh shit, these are the best two guys.
What is going on? Yeah.
These are the best two guys, and they're wrestling to see who's the top. They come out with no titles, you're thinking, Brock Lesnar's bigger than fucking AJ Styles.
Guy, yeah.
He could take that title whenever he wants. Why the hell was he wrestling at the end with no title? Again, it sucks when it comes from a guy like Jericho, who I know, him and Kevin Owens. I'll go on my really long-winded tangent here, where I think that he was supposed to wrestle Kevin Owens for a title, and they felt like who'd they take it from? They wanted
took it from him.
They wanted to add it to which match? I forget.
Goldberg and Lesnar.
Okay, so they wanted to add it to that match.
Mm-hmm.
And Jericho said, but they don't need it. It was involved in ours. Like it's not necessary in their match. It would make more sense in ours. He's talking as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And Vince is talking as a businessman trying to get any eyes on his product.
Yeah,
because he's already got your money. He's already got your money. And it's that whole the cult fan, it's so toxic on Twitter and social media, and it's so bad. AEW can't do any wrong with AEW fans. WWE can't do any wrong with WWE fans. They're both idiots for liking what they like. But Vince knows he's got your money. He can kill all of your favorites. You love AJ Styles. AJ Styles can lose his next 40 matches. You going to stop watching? No.
No.
You're not.
Absolutely not.
You're not.
You think he cares? He just got his bag.
Oh, AJ Styles has only wrestled 2-minute matches. I wish he would wrestle more. You're still going to watch. And he knows that. He knows that. He's not trying to increase. He's not trying to take AEW fans' eyes away. And that's where this thing. AEW is not trying to take WWE fans. AEW is trying to get the old hardcore fans of wrestling back, and WWE is trying to get the young kids that like to watch YouTube. I'm surprised that they are not a bigger presence on YouTube, honestly, than what they are now. The New Day would be huge. I mean, if they put out kid content.
My God.
Like these stupid fucking videos that I have to watch with the kids all the time, where they do Real versus Gummy and all these other stupid things. They show up at McDonald's and buy random things from a wheel and all these other stupid videos I've had to watch for it feels like forever now. Like if they just
personal hell.
If they just had them doing that, just showing up on fucking Logan Paul's things and partnering up with some of these kiddie things, my God, their ratings would be through the roof. And I don't think they realize that they have not tapped in completely into the kid YouTube. I mean, they get fucking Darman on their thing, it's over. It's just over. Like they start getting. I don't even know.
I was like, I don't even know that one. What the fuck?
What, Darman? Your kids are not old enough yet.
Not yet.
They're stupid. They're good in a way because they teach you not to be mean to people. Now I'm talking about Darman. It's like these videos where
adult stuff.
Yeah, it would be like there's a babysitter that's being really bad to the kid. That the parents are saying the kid doesn't. All these babysitters keep quitting, and the kid's really bad. And now the babysitter's there bringing boyfriends over, and he's like, "I'm gonna tell my parents." And it's about like this whole thing where she finally gets her just due at the end, and they finally believe him because he recorded something. And it's like meant to like, hey, be nice to people because you don't know what would happen, and all this other stupid shit. But they're really, really bad videos. Like they're so dumb. But I let them watch it purely because I'm like, all right, if this teaches you to like. Be nice to somebody who you think might be poor but is just having a bad day, like, all right, that's cool. But they're dumb. They're absolutely dumb. But a lot of kids watch these stupid fucking things, and if they tapped into if Vince found somebody who was like, hey, kids watch these nowadays, we'd be seeing all these fucking. You'd be seeing fucking. I don't even know what cartoons are big anymore. Bluey, right? And that's a thing. I know you.
I do
like
Bluey.
But like we'd be having Bluey on our screen wrestling against AJ Styles, like that.
Yeah, Bluey's coming out with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah,
we're both from Australia. Like, yeah.
It's
the crossover I want now.
That's Logan Paul's going to get injured and Bluey's going to replace him.
I want to see that so bad.
Oh man, this took like a dark turn, but yeah. Now that's one thing WWE does well, and I will say that. Yeah. For all the shitting on it,
I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree with you.
It's not my cup of tea.
Whether I like it or not, like they know what they're doing.
It's not my cup of tea. It's like I said. I said this earlier when we compared it to boxing. I don't like watching baseball from home because it's fucking boring. I got to be in person to watch it.
Yeah,
there are people that will watch every baseball game from home.
Every game,
every single inning, every single pitch, and that's fine.
A friend of mine actually has a notebook, and will write the Mets stats.
There you go.
Every game, as long as you can watch it, and if not, he'll record the game, watch it when he can, and he writes in his notebook. And that's fun for him.
There's a lot of people out there that think football is stupid.
Yeah.
You know, and I love the Sixers. There's a lot of people that won't watch basketball. Mm-hmm. So that's where this whole thing comes in. My dad prefers to watch college basketball over the NBA, and that's where I can only compare like AEW and WWE. There's alternatives out there. You know, there's alternatives out there. You don't. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into that whole fucking thing. But like
sports alternatives,
but you don't need to. If somebody enjoys AEW, they're not dumb. If somebody enjoys WWE, they're not dumb. If somebody enjoys Impact, they're not dumb. That's their own taste. Just like I'm not sitting here. Jess loves documentaries, and I can't stand them. She loves the Ghost Hunter shows, and I think they're stupid as shit. But she likes
horror movies. Tara hates them. Yeah. Oh well, she likes them around October, but I can watch them year long.
Yeah, and I don't like C-level horror movies, and Jess and my mom both love like the bad horror movies, and I can't stand them. Yeah, it's about your own preference. There are people out there that prefer DCU movies over MCU. They're wrong, but there are people there are people out there that weirdly prefer it. Some people like to be tortured, just like WWE fans. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Listen, like famously online with Brian Zane, as I'll mention again. If Mecca didn't leave now, he's leaving now. Like what you like. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
See,
you can respectfully disagree with somebody and have a debate with them, without resorting and it happens a lot. And there's, especially on Twitter, there's so many like fake fucking accounts of people who just do nothing but trash the other one, and it's like, dude, a lot of people's defense is it doesn't make you cool or edgy to like AEW and shit on WWE, and every tweet they have after that is about how AEW is nothing but flips and not real wrestling, and they just take ex-WWE guys, and you're like, you're doing the same thing. Like, you're doing the same thing, just on the opposite end. You're doing the same thing that you're complaining about other people about. So, I mean, unless we're talking about Ben Simmons here.
Which we all could say.
We can all agree on it. And you Brooklyn fans out there, I feel bad for you. It must be nice to have hope and to watch Kyle Korver teaching him how to shoot free throws, because he ain't going to listen to a damn thing. His half brother is his shooting coach, and he's made like 5 threes ever, including preseason. Have fun with that. Dude ain't gonna be better shooting. He just ain't. And that's where celebrities there. That's where I'll end this. Is you have false hope. I'm sorry. Ben Simmons is what he is. The dude wanted
around. We always talk about Ben Simmons. We always talk about Brian Zane. Like what you like. Don't be a dick.
See, Mecca, I brought it back on track here for you. So if you're actually listening to this,
Yeah.
Fuck.
Looped it all around.
We'll go off of Brian Zane, and I know you can agree with this. Fuck Ben Simmons. So, on that note, you got anything else, Carl?
No, that's it.
All right.
That's it. Right after this episode pops up on your news feeds and your YouTubes and all that, my episode about the ongoing Activision Blizzard craziness will show up as well. And I don't know if for whatever reason, if you're listening to this because you came from Nerdy Day, follow and subscribe, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're doing us a disservice.
Should be doing it.
We should have 152 here and there.
Exactly. It's crazy. There probably more because I'm sure there's people that subscribed here and have not subscribed to yours to Nerdy Day yet. So, share the love.
Both be at 200. Both channels should be at 200.
Share the love. And soon, hopefully soon, I think we may have discussed this on here for those of you who are actually still listening to this. I'd like to get our second ever Apron Work draft.
Yeah.
We have rules behind it, and we hopefully we'll have something special there. Whether it is bringing back old hosts or your old hosts or partnering with somebody. We have not fully gotten the full details yet, but once we do, it'll be out there. And
in place.
Yes, and I'm really excited for it because I would love to do it on something like, I don't even know if I said this to you. I would love to do it on maybe like a live thing on Twitch or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
When we do it, split it up into 2 episodes because there's going to be a lot of picks. But yeah, and then I would love to just run our shows on Fire Pro Wrestling, like not even play. Just go on Twitch and just run just like have like 4-way matches between our guys and just I don't know, just let it run and discuss. But I didn't fully get into it, but that's a little hint and tidbit to hopefully happen soon. And for those of you that might be wondering why we haven't talked about Control Your Narrative or Tony Khan's thing, or hell, even Undertaker going to Hall of Fame, it's not close enough for the Hall of Fame talk, I think. And the other shit we haven't heard enough about yet. So
no TV deal's been announced yet, and so who the hell knows what Tony's talking about? Yeah,
so we talk about Logan Paul. So you're welcome for those of you out there who are so interested by seeing Logan Paul in our title. So,
yes.
So So on that note, we'll see you when we see you.